Welcome to Subramani. This is part 2 of the Charlie Munger quotations. So, on Focus, Charlie says, when asked about his success, Charlie says, I succeeded because I have a long attention span. This is so beautiful. We have lost our attention span thanks to television or even reading, watching YouTube videos. You are constantly barraged by ads or things like that, or some other thing. When you're not watching it full, you're watching half. You're seeing ads, or you watch something else, and you have a WhatsApp message, something happens and you get disturbed. I do think the best way to develop concentration is to read books, because books, you don't get any interruption. And books, I mean physical books, not even Kindle. Just pick up a book and read a book. See how long you can concentrate, because I think in television the ads are every 4 or 5 minutes. So beyond 5 minutes your brain can't concentrate. So have a good sleep, then pick up a book which you like. For me it is Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister, if I want to read a book on humor. Or it could be something as philosophical as Ramayana or things like that. And spend time, because it will make you calmer and it will make you a better investor. And I'm not joking, right? And long attention span, he says, obviously long attention span means you understand the subject pretty deep. Pick up any subject which you like. It could be running, it could be cycling, it could be walking, it could be physical fitness, it could be alertness in old age, it could be flexibility, whatever, for the body, for the mind. Pick up some topic, could be music, could be art, anything you pick up, and see whether you are able to focus. That's very important for being a good investor. Otherwise, there's a chance that you will unnecessarily fidget around with your portfolio. Just like you look at it on an hourly basis and say, let me sell this, let me buy this. You don't need to. Smart people aren't exempt from professional disasters from overconfidence. This is so true. I've done videos on overconfidence, right from Titanic to what Clive Lloyd would have felt when he was playing India in 1983, right? What chance did India have of beating a mighty West Indian team, especially after scoring 183? 183 is the score which Viv Richards could have made it alone, but it was sheer overconfidence which hit them so badly. And he also, Munger also says, if people weren't wrong so often, we wouldn't be so rich. And I find this true, because when I talk to people, I talk to somebody who's got an annual income, monthly income about 70,000 rupees. He's spending 70,000 rupees. And now he wants to borrow money to buy a bigger house, which is only about 30 lakhs. But from where is he going to make the 30,000 rupee EMI payment? Oh, I'm going to do day trading. And from day trading, I will earn about 2,000-3,000 rupees a month. So that is about 50,000 rupees a month. So 2,000-3,000 rupees a day, which is about 50,000 rupees a month. And from that, I will be able to pay 30,000. What amazing overconfidence this comes from. Where is this fake knowledge that they are talking about? This is what he's saying. Smart people are not exempt from professional disasters of overconfidence. This is true. We have to be more careful. If you're smart, you have to be more careful, because the mind tells you, you know this. I have seen that when a person is very successful in his business, he thinks he can do everything. He can do his own investments. He can ideally cut up his heart and do his own heart surgery. I don't know from where this overconfidence comes. It comes, I think, largely from being successful in one field. You don't realize that you're incompetent in other fields, right? Sit quietly. He is again echoing Pascal when he says, all of humanity's problems arise from man's inability to sit quietly in a room. This is so true. When somebody says he's bored, it just means he cannot be with himself, right? Or she cannot be with herself, however you look at it. Just sitting calmly in a room doing nothing is not easy, and that's very useful for investing. People cannot do it, and therefore by sitting calm, especially during troubled times, your portfolio value goes up. You are rewarded for sitting tight also. Market is the only place where you're rewarded for sitting tight and doing nothing. That is why I think people don't understand the compounding, right? So he also says deal with reality. I think one should recognize reality even when one doesn't like it. Indeed, especially when one doesn't like it. This I think is this is learnt wisdom, and it means facing harsh truths which you like to ignore. If you bought a share and if you bought a particular equity share and you find some information saying that promoter is not good or there is some problem in the industry, you don't want to even hear this. You want to just gloss over it and say, no, it is temporary, nothing will happen and things like that. You have got to be ruthless. In fact, my greatest cause of success has been to take my losses very quickly. If I buy a share, let's say I take a trading position, then suppose the price of the share is 150 rupees and I've taken a trading position. I'm very clear that I will exit at 135 or in 6 months if it has gone nowhere. There is no point in holding on for some 27 years and then selling it at 200 rupees and saying, I didn't sell below my cost. You're wiped out in terms of opportunity, right? So if I buy a share for 150 rupees and my trading stop loss is 135, but my investment stop loss can be 120, which is about 20% less, right? So at 120, I decide that there is something which the market is telling me which I am not understanding, so therefore I should exit. It's as simple as that, because there is something wrong with the company. The market has fallen, it has fallen 30% in the market. Something is wrong with me that I could not see it. I would exit, relook, talk to somebody and maybe re-enter at 125. That's okay. But I have these stop losses, and therefore you don't find me doing videos on my large losses. I don't have large losses. I only have small losses. I may have many, but I have only small losses. I don't have large losses. I don't let a 150 rupee share go down to 5 rupees before I sell it. I sell it much earlier. DFHL was a case in point. I sold it much earlier than I actually thought the management was good. I bought some shares, but then I didn't like what was happening. So I sold, and after that the price fell maybe half or even less than that, right? So take your losses, deal with reality. The market constantly tells you something. By ignoring that, you're hurting your portfolio. Then the very famous saying that there is no free lunch. So he says there isn't a single formula. You need to know a lot about business and human nature and the numbers. It is unreasonable to expect that there is a magic system that will help you invest. This is so true. Many people come and ask me that, can you find me some share which I can hold for the next 40 years? You are not taking a 40-year decision. You are taking a decision now saying, I'm buying this share. It is a good one. And then if you held it for 40 years, it means you have taken 80 decisions of not selling. Every 6 months you took a decision, oh, this is worth it, this is worth it, this is worth it, and therefore it becomes 40 years. Sorry. So there are shares like, say, Colgate or Siemens, Cummins lying in my portfolio, which have been lying for 30-40 years. It is largely a decision of saying these companies are good. Unless there is something dramatically going wrong, I need not even look at their quarterly results. Yes, once in a while I will see what they are doing, but I don't need to look at it on a quarter-to-quarter basis also. I can afford to do that. But it takes first 4 or 5 years of looking at it on a quarter-to-quarter basis. Then you start giving up, saying, I don't need to look at it on a quarter-to-quarter basis. I will look at it on an annual basis. That's it. That's enough, good enough for me. So yes, there is no free lunch. There is no one single course which you can do and become a great investor. Such shortcuts do not exist, right? Maximization, he talks about. In business, we often find that winning system goes ridiculously far in maximizing or minimizing one of the few variables, like the discount warehouses of Costco. I really don't know the details, so I'll skip that. And he says, when everything is a priority, nothing is priority. So you have to choose what is going to be your priority. Is it having fun? Is it doing investments? Is it looking after some other business of yours, right? So picking one variable and relentlessly focusing on it is an effective strategy, and that diverges from the norm. It is hard to compete with businesses that have correctly identified the right variables to maximize or minimize, right? Map and terrain. So here Charlie says, At Berkshire Hathaway, there has never been a master plan. So, right. So, he says there is no master plan. We just take life as it comes, because once you make a master plan, there is tremendous need and human tendency to stick to it, saying, oh, this is right, this is the way it should be done. He says there is no such thing. As rules change, as data changes, we change our mind. Exactly what J.M. Keynes said. Right. Thank you.